Right, so this is the next part of the pop art tutorial. There are a few options with this. If you've got paints, then use paint. You want really, really bright saturated colour. So unless you're pressing really hard with colour pencils, it's not going to show up that well. So paint's ideal. You can also do a collage. You can have magazine pages or coloured pieces of paper ripped up and filled into certain spaces. You'll need to have those colours in certain areas kept together. So if I was going to do really exaggerated colours like pop art does, but I'm going to do it with collage images, I'd have to get thin strips of bright orange or red paper for my hair, because obviously it is an exaggerated colour of my real natural hair. I've done an exaggerated expression because I feel that pop art is very exaggerated, not just by the colour but by the expression a lot of the time. There's usually a speech bubble as well, so if you want to put one of those in, a nice big speech bubble with not too much writing but just enough that you can kind of identify the vibe. So some of them just say wow, some of them say oh no. So if you want to put that in, then do. I've still got some room at the top of my page, so that's potentially an option for me. I'm just mixing my paints at the moment. Again, if you don't have paints, you're going to have to use colour pencils, but pressing quite hard. Obviously not straight away, but if I was to show you with a section of mine, I don't want to go over all of these lines, all of this detail here, because I think that will look really, really flat. I want to keep some of it in. I'm then going to highlight it later with a very thin pen, and you can do that with biro. So if I was to do this with my pencil, I'm just pressing quite hard into these lines, and it will take me a little while, but it's worth it. Now, you do not have to finish it this week. You will be doing some for homework. I'm going to use some red in there as well to get that different tone in. So you're going to be doing some for homework. You're also going to be doing some during today's lesson. Depending on what media you have, it might take a little bit longer anyway. So for my hair, I'm just going over this with the lines. I'm not shading it in one big block. I'm being very, very careful as to where I put the lines. Now, I can then finish that off later. I want to get on with showing you how to do the paints. So if you've got paints, watercolour's fine, you just won't need as much water. You want it bright. Now I'm going to mix up a skin tone. Now to do that, you need to have all three primary colours. So red, yellow, orange will be made from that. And you add in a little bit of blue. Not much, because remember blue is very powerful. And then I'm just going to apply it into the skin area. So my eyes are sort of like a greeny blue, so I need to mix in a green, which remember are the two colours either side of green on the colour wheel. And add a little bit more blue. And they're not quite that colour, but we're doing exaggerated colours. This is pop art. We're exaggerating, making sure these colours are bright, very saturated. We're also going to be turning it into pop art a bit more next week. Now we've got the bright exaggerated colours done today. We are then going to have the dots. So looking at Roy Lichtenstein's work that I'll put in this clip in a second. He uses a lot of dots to fill in the space. So we're going to look for colours that are similar to those that we've used today and those that we might use next week for the background. So think about sort of the skin type colours you might see in magazines. You might want to rip out some pages, which is your homework for next week, in preparation for next week's task. So for me, I would rip out any magazine pages or newspaper pages or cardboard boxes that I can see that have orange or even red. I could rip out some that have sort of a similar skin colour or even slightly different will be fine. And I'll save that for next week. I'm then going to also rip out some blue for my background. So we're going to be using that in the style of Roy Lichtenstein next week. So your task today is just adding the first bit of colour. Now this is your assessment piece at the moment. Take good pride in what you're doing. Do not rush it. And it won't be finished until next week, at least. So you should have been there finished today. So you can see I'm using my red to add in the shadows where my pencil is. And then I'm done for today. Homework is to collect your collage materials that have the same colour or similar colours to those that you're using in your background and on your portrait. And your homework is also to finish it off if you've not quite gotten to this stage today. No pen, no outline. Again, that will be next week also. Right, enjoy!